What's up y'all, Immaculate here. In today's video, I'll go over some tactics I use when slicing samples on the Roland P-6. The P-6's slice mode doesn't let you set custom start points for each slice. It can only slice samples into evenly sized segments. Sounds limiting, but there are a few ways to control how the slice markers are distributed through the sample by using the start and end point controls. Let's check it out. We'll start with a simple example, a drum break. This break is 2 bars long. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I probably want to slice it into 8 even parts to get the chops on the quarter notes where the snare and kick land. Or I could slice it into 16 parts on the 8th notes to have some in-between chops like the hi-hats to work with. But before adding slices, we need to check that the start and end point of the sample are correct. When using tools that evenly slice a sample, it's very important to trim off any extra audio that comes after what you want to slice. If there's silence or something else at the end, then the slices won't line up with the timing you count as the sample plays because that extra space will offset all the markers. Here's an example of what this looks like on another sampler, the Sonicware Lo-Fi 12 XT. In this sampler's even slice mode, you can see the waveform and how the start and end point of the sample can affect the slice markers. Here I have the sample divided into 8 even slices. But as I pull in the endpoint and make the sample shorter by turning the B knob, the markers all move back. Which is making the slices start at the incorrect place. And adjusting the start point has a similar effect. The slices sound off when the start point is not exactly at the start of the sample. Back on the P6, we don't have the waveform display, but we do have access to the same controls for distributing the slices. Turning the start and end knob of the P6 will also move the slices in the way I showed on the Lo-Fi 12 XT. So a good way to determine if the sample is starting and ending where you want is to chop the sample into 2 parts and make sure the second chop starts in the middle of the sample. So I'll hold shift and then press the voice button, and then turn the encoder knob until I get to chop, and then I'll press enter, and I'll set this to 2 slices. So I need to get into keyboard mode to play the slices, so you can press the keyboard button in the bottom right corner. And now when I press the C# key, it'll play the second slice. When you're on the main screen, you can turn the end knob and it'll change where the second slice starts. At the beginning of the second bar of this sample, there's a hi-hat, so I just need to adjust the endpoint to where the second slice will start right on that hi-hat. So I'll keep pressing the C# button to play the second slice, and I'll turn the end knob to shorten the sample until the slice starts right on that hi-hat. So now that we've got the endpoint set correctly, I can double the number of slices from 2 to 4, and the new slice marker should be pretty close to the timing that I counted out as well. And then one step further, I can double the number of slices again from 4 to 8, and it should line up close to the kicks and the snares. And once more, doubling 8 to 16. Although it might not line up perfectly. As you can hear with these later slices, it seems like it's drifting off a little bit. If you find that you can't quite get the timing right on some of the slices, another tactic is copying the sample to another pad and adjusting the start and end point on that pad. This allows you to get a closer view and focus on specific sections, which you can adjust more precisely than having all the slices on a single pad. So let's copy this drum break to the pad next to it. To copy a pad, hold the sample pad you want to copy, then hold shift and press the play button. Then scroll to copy if it's not already selected, and press enter. And now select the pad you want to paste the sample to. So I'll select the pad next to it, and then press enter. And on this copied pad, I'll start the slices at the halfway point of the sample. And now I can adjust the endpoint on this pad to make the slices better line up in the second half of the break. So now those last slices have the snare starting right when I press the button, as opposed to how they sounded on my other pad. And another tactic for slicing samples with the P-6 is actually to slice the sample on a different device and then record each of the slices into the P-6 using the step sampling mode. So I'll record a slice drum break from Koala Sampler using the slice tools on there. To access the step sampling mode, you just have to press the sampling button, and then you hold shift and turn the pitch knob, and this allows you to select the number of slices you want to record in. So I'll set this to 16, and the length of each slice will depend on the recording settings you have. So having a lower sampling rate, like 22 or 11 kHz, and having a mono sample instead of a stereo sample will give you more recording time per slice. So now we're ready to record these in. I can select the pad, and then press sampling to arm the recording, since I have threshold recording enabled, and now I just need to play the pads from Koala. And then I'll play the next one, and the one after that, and so on. And I have to increase the level of this sample because it's not loud enough to trigger the threshold recording. And now I can play back the slices using the keys at the bottom, just like with the other slices. So those are some tactics I use to chop samples in the Roland P-6. Even slice mode's not the most ideal way to chop samples, but you can still get a decent amount of control by using the start and end knobs. It just requires your sample to have evenly spaced sections that you want to chop, and step sampling is useful too. Well, that does it for this video. Thanks for watching, see you next time.